Teachers, what's the weirdest thing you've had to take away from a student? It was December or January and we were having one of those lockdowns where the police come in with dogs to sniff for drugs. We were all locked in our classrooms and no students were allowed out, even to visit the restroom. One of my students was white as a ghost, very afraid. I asked him what's the matter, but it was obvious he was afraid he was about to get busted. He said, "Do you think the dogs will go to my locker?" I said, "I don't know, do you have something to be worried about?" He said, "There's a ham and cheese sandwich in there." I scratched my head a bit, "I'm sure it's no problem to have a sandwich." He said, "Yeah, but it's been in there since September." I've answered this question before, so I figured I'd just copy/paste. Well, this is my effing time to shine. My coworker and I had a mild prank war going on. Somehow, the students caught wind and decided to instigate by stealing things from his room and taking it to mine and vice versa. Here are some of the things I've had to take from them and return to him. His car keys. His entire desktop computer. Portraits of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. Pumpkins from his Halloween decorations. His desk chair. His car keys again. A student desk. His travel mug with his name on it. At this point I'm convinced my coworker just doesn't want his car. And somehow, in the 5 minutes between his class and mine, they managed to flip all the desks in his classroom upside down. I'm not making this up. Another student's tooth. That he had fished out of the trash can. That he was going to add to his tooth collection. Not me, but my co-teacher tells the story of having to take a vibrator away from a student during band class. The only reason he knew the kid had it was because the kid tried to play the xylophone with the thing. Not a teacher, but was part of almost eliminating the prize box in my kid's class. Kid is in kindergarten. I'm friends with a few of the other fathers in her class. One of the things her class has is a prize box. If the kids are all on their game for the week, or a kid does something especially good, they get to choose something from the box. It's filled with the kind of stuff you would find in a blister pack in the dollar store. Stuff like a little plastic car, or a bouncy ball or whatever. Anyway, the kids love it, the parents supply stuff for it. So one day my kid comes home with a effing kazoo from the thing. Nothing like a 6-year-old who just figured out how a kazoo works while you are trying to work from home. So immediately I fire off an email to the list of my fellow dads asking what wise guy put kazoos in the prize box, and then see that 2 other people had beat me to the question. One of the guys finally replies back, "Haha." And it was on. I countered with whistles, someone else had this annoying popping thing, someone else got the world's worst balsa planes, so like, the second time it flew it was destined to snap in half and upset your kid. This went on for like a good 2 weeks before someone crossed the line and sent in glitter. By this point the teacher was on to us, and told our wives on us. Eyeballs. I worked with a blind student with autism. When he would get angry, he would pop out his glass eyeballs and throw them across the room. They were expensive, so Mom asked that we put them in a plastic bag in his backpack if he threw them. No more eyeballs for you today. An entire menagerie of live insects. One afternoon my class decided that they should see how many bugs they could capture and keep alive in my classroom. The next day, I returned from covering lunch duty in another part of the school and noticed that one of the cubbies had paper towel taped over the front like a curtain. Before I could investigate, I noticed several Tupperware containers hiding in desks. Dozens of worms, that was the cubby, many assorted beetles, uncounted ants, 4 bees, a wasp, and most upsetting, several flies which were crazy glued to index cards and had their wings removed. That was a long day in a long year. Instant pudding. My student was mixing it in a large Cool Whip container, using milk from lunch, right in the middle of a lesson on Macbeth. A whole salami. Kid kept walking over to his backpack and sticking his face in to take secret bites without me noticing. I noticed. First thing that came to mind, a drawing of a peanut. One kid said he had a peanut allergy, so a boy drew a peanut on a piece of paper, and started shoving it in the other boy's face and being a general D-bag with it. A small trinket box, about palm-sized, decorated with gems and glitter, with a live mouse inside. The mouse was named Jimmy and had been caught in the child's house. My sister's teacher had to call my dad about a suspicious powder my sister was eating out of a bag at school. She was dipping her finger in a bag of powdered jello and eating it and letting other kids do the same. A girl had about 50 plastic spoons in her pocket. She tripped and they all fell out. We all found it hilarious, but a high-up teacher was walking by and made her pick them up. She was going to anyway, and put them all in the bin. He was probably very confused over the whole situation. On a kindergarten class, and lunch has just finished, so the kids are coming into the classroom, and this boy walks in with the biggest grin on his face, holding a toilet paper dispenser from the bathroom. He was quite a small kid and he was clearly struggling to hold it. Me, where did you get this from? Him, it was on the ground. Female student, miss, one of these is missing from the girls' bathroom. Obligatory, not a teacher, I'm an EA, educational assistant, in a school. Plastic spoons. Hundreds of them. I still don't know why, but one grade 5 kid came to school with his backpack stuffed full. Nothing else was in his backpack, not even his lunch. He hung it on the back of the chair and pulled out a spoon and was fiddling around with it instead of doing work. So I took the spoon away. 10 minutes later he has another one. I took that. 10 more minutes a third. The teacher took it away. 10 minutes later another. You can see the pattern here. I finally opened his backpack when I saw him grab the 6th or 7th spoon, and the bag was full. Obviously the teacher had to call home since he had no lunch. Mom comes, looks at him with just resignation, and goes, "Why?" as she hands him his lunch. He shrugged, grinned, and walked back to class. Mom is clearly used to it and has learned to go with the flow. A giant head of lettuce that just suddenly appeared on his desk. Where did he get it? Former teacher here. Wasn't part of the initial apprehension but was part of the follow-up investigation. Weirdest thing was a bag of turtles. Yep. Kid caught a bunch of the little salmonella-filled red-eared sliders at a local pond on his way to school one day. We had a turtle black market at the school by noon, and by the end of the day the principal had a dozen in a bowl in his office. Kid got caught because a terrible smell was reported from his locker. Janitor opened it up and there was a bag of turtles. The rest of the day was spent tracking down the ones that had already been sold. Edit, I've owned a few reptiles as pets. To my knowledge small, under 4 inches, red-eared sliders have been illegal in the pet trade for quite some time due to a risk of salmonella in their skin. All turtles that were brought to school were under 4 inches. Principal released turtles to pond that evening. Middle school, kid was 7th grader. The best business venture we had at the school was when a kid, different kid, who walked to school would stop and buy 10 to 15 Monster energy drinks from a convenience store in the morning and sell them at school. Kid banked. The operation was eventually shut down. Wish I knew what that kid was doing now.